We're at the Van Rensselaer Manor over in Troy, New York. Roy McDonald is the interviewer. My name is Wayne Clark. I'm the videographer. Sir, for the record, would you please state your full name and date and place of birth, please?
Joe Manupella, 558th Avenue in Troy. I was born March 3rd, 1928. I'm 87 years old.
Joe, we want to welcome you, and we want to thank you. The purpose of today is to talk to you about what you've done on behalf of our country. And I think the people watching this video someday in the future will be amazed what you've done. You served in the Navy in World War II, and then you joined the Army for the Korean War. And I think in the Korean War you were wounded and awarded the Bronze Star and the Purple Heart. And I'd like to turn around and let you start telling us about this amazing. We're especially, by the way, interested in the Korean War. That would be part of the Korean War exhibit. And you are reflective of a very unique group of people, and that's the soldiers and the military people who served both in the World War II and the Korean War. God bless you all. They're so great what they've done for us.
I was always interested in the service since I was a kid in high school. And when the war started, I tried to get in 3 or 4 times, always underage. My father always said to me, "This is war, you won't understand it, so you stay home." I ran away 3 times to join the Navy. I guess I know every time. I finally got in there when I was 17 years old in 1946. The war was just winding down. I spent close to a year in the Navy, and then they started letting people go deactivating personnel. You know, one of them. So I got back home and worked with my uncle for a while. The Korean War started in 1950. My brother George was one of the first ones to be called in. He was stationed in Okinawa. He landed in Korea with the first troops, and he was wounded by a hand grenade, lost his left eye, and he came home to Bethesda Naval Hospital in Washington, D.C. When he came home, I went to see him, and I knew right then and there I was going to go in the Army. So I joined the Army, was stationed in Fort Monmouth, New Jersey, in the Signal Corps, which was one of the best signal corps in the country. I was stationed there and go to school there. After 3 months in school, I volunteered for Korea. The colonel said to me, "You're crazy, Joe. But if I was your age, I'd go myself." So I left Fort Monmouth, New Jersey. They flew me to Seattle, Washington. I got on a ship there, went over to Korea. It took me 12 days on the ship. When I landed in Korea, they assigned me to a service company, which was behind the lines about 40 miles. I had to go up on the line, so they transferred me from the service company up to the line. I was assigned to Charlie Company, 1st Battalion, 7th Regiment, 3rd Division. The 7th Regiment was the same regiment that the Audie Murphy was in during World War II. Anyway, the captain there was Captain Nugent. He said, "What do you do?" I said, "I went to communication school in Fort Monmouth, New Jersey." He said, "You're my radio man." They threw me in communications, which is a part of the infantry. They had about 7 men to a group. And our job was to install telephones along the line for each platoon, each company. When the lines were put out in front of the bunkers, when the shells would come in and knock the lines out, we had to tie it back in again and bring the lines together. We did this for 3 months, and then I became the leader of the camo team.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wounded the first time out of 3. The first time I was wounded I was shot in the forehead. We were out in the front lines trying to capture a prisoner. In those days, if you put a prisoner in, you got 5 days R&R in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't get one anyway.
Huh.
So I come back to the lines, and I'm running patrols every night. Every night we go out with 9 men to make a contact with the Chinese, and when we get a firefight, then we back to went back to our lines. The Chinese came into the war in 1951, December, and that was the time that MacArthur was the commander of the troops in Korea. The second time I was wounded was going into a battle on Whiteface Mountain, which was one of the toughest battles I had in Korea during the end of the war. We fought on mountains, and the high ground was the best place to be. And we knocked them up one hill, and they came back and knocked us up a hill. We were going back and forth like that, and that's when they started the peace treaties. They wanted to get some kind of a compromise set up where we could leave Korea without losing face. I was hit by an artillery bomb the second time. I was given charge of a platoon of men after doing my 3 months as the chief communication director. When I was wounded the second time, I was sent back to, if you ever watched TV, and MASH program, I was in that MASH hospital. Wee Jianpu, which was a exchange center for the services. And I put in a troop train to go from Wee Jianpu to Taegu.
Mm-hmm.
So after this injury,
Whereabouts were you wounded?
second time, yeah.
Yeah, but what part of your body was hit?
I was, the first time, of course, the forehead. The second time, I left the lumbar region.
Okay.
When I was on the train going back to Taegu, I could feel some oozing in my back. The blood was just pouring out. So they had to stop the train and get a vehicle and put me back to Wee Jianpu and stitch me up again. So back to my lines, got my outfit all straightened out, my gear and so on. And I was on the way back to the lines. I signed myself out of the outfit to go back to the States. On the way going to the ship, coming back, I was wounded the third time. We had a prisoner aboard ship. We got away and was getting firefights with these guys. And I foolishly grabbed the guy and spun him around, and he stabbed me in the stomach.
Mm-hmm.
So now I had a third wound. On the ship there was sick bay with three doctors in there, great guys. And they're stitching me up and they're talking about baseball and everything else. And I'm saying, you guys know what you're doing. And they had my stomach laying on the table and they stitched it all up. So I'm on a ship coming back home. And the greatest part of all that was the buddies you made over in Korea. And they were just great comrades. Your life depended on your guy on the left flank or the right flank. Mm-hmm. We were in an area, they call the hill 355. And on that hill, on the left flank was the Canucks, the Canadians, and the right flank was the Limeys, the English troops. So we go out on patrol, we check in with each group on the way out, come back in. When we had to go out and put the lines back in, we were all full of piss and vinegar, 18 years old. So we go out, I wouldn't let any married man go out on the patrol. So me and two other guys would run all the patrols, which is great, because we go out, slip through the woods, knock out a few guys and come back home. The best part of the whole thing was I still write to 5 guys, 5 men who were in my outfit all over the country.
You're still in communications with them?
I call them every Christmas. You know, when I called the last time, I said, oh, they're still alive.
Mm.
And lo and behold, the 5 are still alive. and they were all in their 80s. One was in Connecticut, one was in Ohio, one was in Little Rock, Arkansas. And I called him, I said, did you ever meet Bill Clinton? He said, oh yeah, they love us down here. But each guy had a story to tell. And it's amazing, they're all in their 80s, and they're still kicking it. So it wasn't about they'll call me. But that's the kind of people we were working with. The kind of guys that didn't never care where you came from or what you did. Is what happened in Korea, what you did together. And they were great friends. The third time I got wounded, every time I got wounded, we had a chaplain named Father Xavier Murphy out of New York City. And the first time I got wounded, he was happened to be right around the area. And he gave me the last fight and they stitched me up. The second time, there he is again. He said, Joe, you gotta stop doing this. So they give me some morphine and sewed me up. He brought me back to Tegu and that other son of a gun. The third time, don't I meet him again. 3 times I was wounded, 3 times it was Father Murphy. When I get back to the States, I try to contact him. And Father Hart, our pastor, had a book of all the priests in the area that where they were stationed. He came back to the States and went to Germany as a chaplain over there. But he, another great friend. I used to go to Seoul with him every week. He'd pick up supplies. There was a place in Seoul, it was a mess tent. It said that when you walk in these doors, you leave your ranks outside. I go inside, got us all full of colonels and captains and all that. And I was looking for a switchboard for my communications group. So I said, you got anything around? He said, yeah, come on. He had a switchboard as big as that wall. I said, dear God, that'd take care of a division. But there were small boxes. You had crystals in them. And you put a wire on the crystal to each area, and that was your contact back and forth. But we had a lot of responsibility, and because I'm on one line, it was an outpost, and it was a South Korean were on the hill, and they were being replaced. We put lines all through the place, and lo and behold, I'm the last guy up there. Put the lines in. Started to sell out. All the guys are going back to our lines, so I had to get back in. So I got my belly coming in, and lo and behold, they shoot the crap out of me. I don't remember firing because they didn't know who it was. They called me Camo Joe because of communications. And I'd say, hey, don't shoot, it's Camo Joe. So I got through the lines to get back to our outfit. And Lieutenant Hayes, who was my platoon leader, don't you ever pull that crap with me again. He says, the whole goddamn team is looking for you. But that's the kind of outfit we were.
How long were you in Korea, Joe?
12 months.
12 months.
I learned in the war had started in December of 51. Thanksgiving Day of 51, the Chinese came in on Thanksgiving Day, overran our outfit there. That was the time that there was boxed in the Chosun Reservoir. That was the biggest battle over there. And when the Chinese hit them in there, it was winter time, cold as hell. So we had a tough time getting back through the lines because the Chinese were all over us. MacArthur said, as the Joint Chiefs of Staff, we'll be home by Christmas. He said to them, what about the Chinese? Well, they had a few hundred on the lines around there, but they won't bother us. Thanksgiving Day, 100,000 Chinese come over the hills. And you couldn't kill them fast enough. They didn't care. They came in line after line. Half of them had guns and half of them didn't. So the second half that go over the line, he grabbed the weapons of the first crew that were in. As they got hit, they pick up their weapons. They were piled up in front of us like logs because they just kept on coming. They didn't care. You know, they get hundreds of thousands of Chinese over there, and you never beat them. Never beat them.
Did you lose some good friends over there, Joe?
Oh yeah, a lot of good friends.
Do you remember a few?
When I was hit the first time, I'll never forget this kid, little short kid, Donnelly, Bobby. And the other guy said, bring him in back. And the blood is coming on my face, I couldn't see for shit. And he got me all the way back in. The following week, he got hit, he got knocked off. But that's not how these guys were. Every time I got hit, somebody was there to bring me back. And every day the shells come in. Every day. So it was just a matter of time before she get hit. I used to go out in front of us. There was a couple of tanks that were knocked out. I went one tank, there was 7 guys in there. They pulled over the dog tag to bring it back with me. And they started firing shells at us. There's a hole in the bottom of the tanks, which I suppose were escape hatches. And we get out through that way and pull it back in. But these are the kind of things we did. We took off the weapons on the tank. There was a 50 caliber of one tank.
Mm-hmm.
We took it over, carried it back to our lines. In our bunkers, which were like you go down to the ground for a foxhole. The bunkers were dug out by the side of the mountains. So all the way around the hills we were in, all your bunkers were into the... if you saw that movie Pork Chop Hill, it's the most realistic movie I ever saw in a career. It showed all the places where the bunkers were, how you lived, and it was we were there. I was there 12 months. You got to realize that there was no electricity, no communication. I was in Carmel, so I got these batteries. They were 70 volts and 7 volts, the small ones, round ones. And these officers had these big radios. They were transoceanic Zenith radios. At the bottom they had a place for portable batteries. Somehow I got all of a soldering iron, and I took these batteries together and made one piece. I stuck them in the back of these radios. They worked like hell. Then I got some light bulbs. I took 2 pieces of wire, hooked them on the batteries. The old man, the captain, in his bunker, he had a light, radio going, light bulb was shining on him. They couldn't understand how here we are in the front line for nothing. We got all this stuff going for us. We were innovative. We did many things. In my outfit, we had a lot of camel wire. Maybe you see in the movies, they unroll the wire and hook it up.
Mm-hmm.
I took the wire with 2 of those posts that they use for, in the States, there were snow guard posts. I drove them in the bunker and ran camel wire all around it and made bunks for the guys. So all those little things we did. A lot of rats over there. In the bunker, geez. Rats were all over the place. I get back from patrol one day in the morning. I was exhausted. Went into the bunker and the front of my sleeping bag was doing this. So one of the guys said, Joe, you had a rat in there. And I fired my 45. Feathers are flying all over the place. I missed the rat and lost the sleeping bag. But they were all over the... They caused hemorrhagic fever. There's an insect called a mite, M-I-T-E, and they'd be on these rats. And when you killed a rat and you walk by, these mice would jump on top of you. We lost more guys in my outfit from hemorrhagic fever from the enemy. And these are kind of, sinking things that you went through.
When you were overseas, Joe, did you get a lot of communications from your family back home in Troy?
I had 6 sisters.
6 sisters.
And they all wrote to me occasionally. But
Nice.
Josie was my best friend.
Is that a sister?
Josephine, she wrote to me every day. Every day. Miriam would write to me when I was in Fort Monmouth. And every time Miriam wrote to me, there was $2 in there.
Oh, how nice.
Well, you'd be broke all the time. Every payday, I'd find a crap game. I get into the crap game. Next day I was broke. That's all it was, you know. You live for today. You get it.
You got, tell us again about that
I
story.
brought I'm in therapy this morning, and the man who I was, and I said to the therapist, I said, I got a meeting, I gotta go. I got so much to think about. Do you want me to take some notes? She said. I said, gee, would you? And we sat there, she's supposed to give me therapy in my legs and my arms, and we were sitting talking there, and I was telling her about just what I told you here. And there she is writing down all these notes for me. When I get through, I leave the room down there, and they're all going, Joe, what'd you do? My secretary said. So I'm very fortunate to have all these notes down. It's funny, when you're doing something like this, and you start talking about it, but 60 years ago, 60 years ago, you sit there and start talking, and the first thing you know, you remember all these little things that happened.
That's right.
I mean, I go on and on about the...
That's why this is so important to the future generations.
Father, Captain Nugent, N-U-G-E-N-T, was from Ireland. He had a bogey, couple of knife. My father, God love him, he's in World War I. He would send me over a large salami, round salami, and a brick of provolone cheese. And he'd pack it in a box and cover it with salt and wrap it up in the middle of something. And when we come over, you could smell it a mile away. Captain Nugent said to me, man, they probably get in there. Yes, sir. Open that package. I said, open it up, he said. I opened it up, put it on the bucket floor on the board there. Give me your bayonet to some of the guys. He's cutting it all up. We put all the officers in. Each platoon had an officer. They all come in. 15 minutes, my whole salami cheese was gone. We used to train with the Canadians, the Canucks on our left. We used to get rations every day. And their rations was Canadian Club. And ours was beer. And they wanted our beer, and I wanted their Canadian Club. So we switched a case of beer.
You're talking about Canadian Club whiskey.
Whiskey,
Yes.
and we'd swap the beer for the whiskey. I go on patrol. I had a bottle with me in my back. Before we started, we get a couple of swigs. Out we go, get in combat, firefight. On the way back, a few more swigs. The guy said, I'll go out with you, Joe. I'll go out with you. Gee.
Now, you said your 6 sisters wrote you, and did you know, I got a feeling I know the answer to this, but I bet you miss Troy, your hometown, a whole lot.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, you love where you were. Because I came in a career, and I volunteered for front lines. I'm in communications with the head of bunker. 7 guys. And I walked in that room, I didn't know anybody. I had nothing. Nothing. We had these cots in there for to sleep on. And all of a sudden, each guy went by my bunk and threw something on it. A candy bar, toothbrush.
Mm-hmm.
Before I know it, I got a whole tent full of all the stuff you need. Every one of them threw some stuff on there. The first time I ever met them.
Well, you know, a lot of people have reflected on the friendships that are made in the military.
Yeah.
And, you know, as you mentioned, there are people from all different backgrounds, different states, different ethnic, racial, religious groups. But it brings everybody together, and it looks like that's what it did for you.
When I had these 5 men out, my buddies, I visited 3 of them. Connecticut, Ohio, had a guy from New Hampshire. One of them came back to visit me. I had a restaurant, Hamburger Haven. And I'd bring him in there and feed him. I had a friend of mine, a girlfriend, casual friend. I brought over to her house and she cooked steak and French fries for us. He said, geez, Joe, you got some life over here. I said, well, you know, you give and take. But they were good guys. The guy in New Hampshire had 5 daughters. The guy in Connecticut, Andy LaDonna, he was a mechanic before he left. And he came back out with his own garage up. and Lord be home, then he died about 2 months later. Every year when I call my buddies, I call his mother
Oh,
and,
that's,
his wife. Every year.
that's
And
nice.
last time I called him was last Christmas time, and she said, God, I've been waiting for your call, Joe. All still alive.
Let me ask you, Joe, the experiences that you gained in the military, in both the Korean War and World War II, and the people you met, did they play a role when you came back and you started your career? Because you had a very public career, you might say.
I come home December 23rd, I was 2 days over my time in the service. I was going to Plattsburgh College, just opened up. GI Bill, paperwork all done. My brother Georgie, my father had a little store next to our house, and sometimes there was a barber shop in there, sometimes a plumber shop. There was a restaurant in there, like a small diner. And my brother and another guy fixed it all over and opened it up. We sold hamburgers. And my mother said to me, "You're going in business with your brother." I said, "Mom, I'm going to school." "You're going in business with your brother." I said, "Mom, I'm going to college." "You're going in business with your brother." 2 days later, I'm behind the counter serving hamburgers. I was there 15 years. And then from there, a couple of guys got a hold of me, Rotary Club, Boys Club, and they talked me into running for office. So I ran for supervisor. I was the first Italian, first Democrat, first Catholic to win that district there. 33 years later, I left the service, the politics. I was chairman of the board. I had all leadership spots in the Board of Legislature. I was president of the New York State Legislators Association, president every county there. In politics, you know, you make a lot of good friends. Thomas Jefferson said, "The art of politics is compromise."
Right.
Always remember that. We fight like hell on the floor. After the meeting, go to the corner and go have a beer. We're playing pinochle. All the time. I would tell those guys, "You're a neophyte. You know the first thing about county government." I chew the heck out of them. You might have a drink and so on. Never touch politics. Never discuss what happened on the floor. We good to us. I was there when we had a new charter in the county government. We started a county executive form of government, and it was all brand new. We fought like hell putting it together, continually. But they were my best years. From the politics, they put me on the board of the Boys and Girls Club, and I was on the board 30 years. I became president of the board of directors. The executive director was only about 4 years old at the building. The board of directors, the executive director resigned. Now they got no executive director. So they put the vice executive director in charge. He lasted 6 months and he left. So they said to me, "Joe, you be executive director." I said, "What do I know about being an executive director? I went to high school. I had no idea." They put me in there. This is my 51st year as executive director of the Boys and Girls Club. We put on 2 extensions there. When I first started, we had a mortgage of $351,000, paid off in 3 years. We were lucky all the way through. A lot of success stories there, a lot of success stories. Supreme Court judges. One of our former members is now he was a deputy commissioner of labor in the state of New York. He's now he has a top job. But all these guys we have many stories. When you go out campaigning today, you meet people coming to the club. Remember this, remember that. During all that time, I spent 15 years as truant officer.
Mhm.
And I'd go out and get these, I'd knock at the front door, bang right home. Then I'd run around to the back door, and I'd get him coming home. Some guys would say to me, "You got me, Joe. Remember you got me?" I said, "Yeah, I don't know." When I picked up kids that were being truant, there's a place at the top of the hill, a hamburger stand. I stop right there and give the kids a hamburger and a milkshake. I bring them home. The secretary at the front desk would start chewing this kid up. "Here you are late again. I said, "Hold on, will you please? You don't have any idea what happened to that kid at home. You got no idea if you got a mother or a father, if you eat breakfast or not. Give him a break." I said, "If you don't give him a break, he goes to his homeroom teacher and he's pissed off there. Because the first period he's really hot. By third period he gets thrown out. So I have to go get him again."
You think you learned some of that compassion for people when you're in the Army, seeing all the
Oh,
problems?
I would have been in jail, God love us. I was a street kid. In the Army, for some reason, they give you all these tests, you know. And they sent me to leadership school, guardianship school. I was in a PFC because I was in the Navy before. They would give you an extra stripe. And I got from the States, I got the career. I don't know, I just became a leader here, a leader there. 6 months I got a sergeant stripe and sergeant first class. I got recommended for a battlefield commission on the 3rd platoon, but I got wounded the 3rd time, so I managed to get home.
Let me ask you, Joe, in your experiences in Korea, did you ever, intermingle or talk to the Korean people who lived there and the villages that you went through and all that?
Funny thing, I went on R&R twice, which you got after 3 months, had a clean record. Go to Japan for 5 days. The first time I went there, I went to Osaka, Sasebo, and then I went to Tokyo. I don't know how this happened, but we had dinner with some of these Japanese girls, and they were wonderful. They say, "Joe, give me your money. I pay all the bills." So they couldn't cheat you. I went in this one house, and on the mantle was these 3 young men, all in Air Force uniforms. All 3 of them were killed in the battle of, was it Midway or...
These were Japanese.
This is terrible. I said, this is terrible. She'd probably kill me if I sleep with them. They're just wonderful people, absolutely wonderful.
Right.
In this place here, I have a part-time worker in my house as a custodial care, Japanese girl. We talk all the time. When I was in Japan, I learned, Koko Irishe, Iwa, Origato, thank you, get over here, Skoshi. I'd be in the dining room, and she'd come over, I never Waco. I'd say, "Waco, Iwa, Koko Irishe." And she'd come over, "Hi, hi." All the women sitting around us, "He speaks Japanese, he speaks Japanese." But she said to me, "Sometimes it's tough here." She said, "Some people don't like me." There are people who'll never forget Pearl Harbor. Never forget it. But they're wonderful, wonderful people. When I got back home, I read all about the young men getting into service, the kamikaze pilots.
Right.
They were so dedicated to their emperor that when they get into service and get in these planes, they were dedicated. Like, our men were good men, but they were never as dedicated to our president as these people were to the emperor. It's a marvelous thing how they react. I went to Hiroshima, it was 2 years later, after the bomb, and you see them all burned, just disarmed.
That had to be quite an experience,
Oh, terrible.
going to Hiroshima.
When I was in the Navy, I was in school there, running school, and then I was transferred to a outfit in the Production Navy Air Station. It was for Marines manned. Now, I never knew the Marines how they operated, but I know one thing, they flew a bugle for assembly, chow line, whatever. The Navy, the chow line, you got a line, went down there, and you got your food and sat down. In the Marine Corps, you sat at the tables, everything was family style. They throw it out there, bing, 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 throw it going. For 2 days, I didn't eat. The guy said, you got to get in there first, kid. That's why I left there. I was assigned to the Sequoia. It was the president's yacht out of the Potomac River.
Mm-hmm.
And I was assigned there with 7 other guys.
Who was the president then? Was that
Truman, Harry Truman.
Yeah.
I would be out on leave. I'd be coming home on Monday morning, half pie-eyed. There's Truman coming down Pennsylvania Avenue. Maybe 3 or 4 FBI guys or Secret Service behind him. Maybe 10 or 20 reporters behind them. I said, "Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, Mr. Sailor," he said. About 3 times I did that. But he was a great guy.
Yeah.
Friendly as hell.
That's
But
a great memory.
I was assigned to the Sequoia. The first weekend, this is a very exclusive, beautiful yacht. Only the best of the best were assigned there. On leave for a weekend pass, went home, come back. I'm in New York City. Went to the other guys in the Navy. We went down to 42nd Street to the Salvation Army place to eat. You go over here and sing songs and, hallelujah, hallelujah. And go over here, they feed you. I was late getting back to camp. They called me in for a captain's mast, which is like a misdemeanor in the States. There's 5 hours in front of the table there. "Well, sailor, did you have a good time?" "Yes, sir, I had a great time." "What happened to you?" "I met a girl." Phew. 5 days in a brig. And who do you think is manning the brig with Marines? The sergeant at the desk going in. He said, "What do you got, kid?" "I got nothing." "Any cigarettes?" "No." "Any money?" "No." 5 days, get in there. We go to the mess hall. They had big barrels full of potatoes. There was a machine. And you had to take the eyes out of them, out of the potatoes. And this guy said to me, "Joe, you gotta take about 20 of them, put them on top." We keep cleaning the potatoes up, and the mess sergeant came in and he reached one way down to the bottom and bring up the potatoes that weren't done yet. I had no cigarettes. This Marine guy, tough guy. "You want to smoke, kid?" "I'd love one." He pulled the string, and the bars on the window. He pulled the string up, there's a butt at the end of the string. Take a piece of steel wool, took the light bulb out of the socket, put the steel wool in it, lit the steel wool, like your butt, take 2 or 3 tries, and I'll cut the string again, and you tie it up back in there. I learned an awful lot of those Marines.
Joe, is there any closing comments you would like to make?
I go back again in the Army in 2 minutes. 2 minutes I go back in there.
I believe you would.
My brother said we had an interview with the Red Cross when we came home. The bottom line, my brother Georgie said, "I go back in a minute with my brother," he said. That's how great we were.
Mm-hmm.
Loyal to the people you met, places where you'd go.
Well, I can't wait for some of the young people of the newer generations to take
I got 2 sons,
a look at what you guys have done.
and neither one of them would want to go to service. The Vietnam War, I know you were in it, Roy. But I mean, Charles de Gaulle told the United States leaders, "Don't ever get into a war over here. Don't ever get into a war. In 1955, in DMPU, the top battalion of the French Army, the top battalion, were on a hill and they were surrounded. Not one country came by to help them. And they got their crap kicked out of them. And lo and behold, we go over there, the Gulf of Tonkin, when Lyndon Johnson was president. They got their foot into it there. Terrible. I can't believe that they were dumb.
Well, if you look at the wars, and unfortunately it doesn't stop at Vietnam, there's so many wars after it, and the men and women we have in the military today, in 2015, are amazing.
Last year,
They're simply amazing people.
last year when the government was putting their budget together, they had a $3 trillion, I couldn't even write it, $3 trillion in deficit. They had 3 wars going on at once.
Well, America has been blessed, whether it's
That's for another day.
the Revolutionary War in our state, in New York State. New Yorkers have always been there. The War of 1812, New Yorkers. The Civil War, amazing the amount of New Yorkers that fought in that.
Yeah.
And then you've had smaller wars, the Spanish-American War, and you had, obviously World War I and World War II.
Spanish-American War.
Korea and Vietnam, and the Persian Gulf War, Grenada, Panama, Bosnia, and then we have, Afghanistan. And,
The Chinese always got in their wars,
Kuwait.
They had so many men in the military, they couldn't feed them all.
Right.
So they would send them out in these different areas, getting in the small wars, and they would thin out this population of men.
Well, the American public hopefully will realize through events and attempts like we're doing today, and that we hope to be doing someday, the Vietnam War as well as...
One last story I want to tell you.
Sure.
When I was raised in the wintertime, they had boots that when you sweat, your feet would be swollen and squeezed. I had 3 kinds of boots. The rubber thighs, the leather, 3 kinds. We couldn't get the best they had. We couldn't get them for some reason. I get back home, there's an Army and Navy store on the block of my house. The front window of that Army and Navy store with these same boots on sale. We couldn't get them a career.
Yeah, it's terrible. Things don't always change.
Well, I figured somebody had a shoe factory.
Yes. I don't think we've ever had a more detailed presentation on the Korean War than we have from you, and what you've done for us, and in your military service, and then afterwards as a public official. But now, what you've done for us in this interview has given us the opportunity to share that with so many other people in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.